Hey, this is Dave Lozano, and you're listening to Brews and Tunes. Rock on.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Super excited today to be chatting with Dave Lozano from classic thrash metal band Devastation. I'm thrilled to be chatting with you, Dave. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. How you been doing?
Good, man. Living the dream out here in LA. Just moved here. Surviving it, waiting for that official green light, just like everybody else.
Right. Nice.
A little bit stir crazy, but I was already that way kind of anyways.
Nice. Right on. So I've got a bunch of questions I want to ask you, but I think one thing I wanted to just state right now, which is very cool and kind of mind-blowing. I think we're similar in age, so this kind of blows my mind at this point that this month, so June 1st, Devastation's Idolatry is 30 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, totally feeling my age every time that thing gets called out like that. But yeah, dude, that's just been an epic. Like I said, that was my best work. I've got a couple other knickknacks coming out, that people don't really know. But overall, that right there was part of an era that just came from my heart and soul. Nice. And I was so young that I fell in love with drums and playing way before I even, puberty even set in. As funny as that sounds, I was into drums way before I found out my escape. And yeah. It's just been a whirlwind thing ever since.
Nice.
You know what I mean? My parents thought it was a way to just keep me occupied, and man, I'll never regret that. Don't never forget that one.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, tell me about how you originally got started in music and got started in drumming.
Right on. Well, okay. I was given a toy drum set at maybe about 7 when, it was for Christmas. And then after that, slowly but surely, I was just doing the typical air guitar in front of mirrors type stupid shit. And next thing you know, I remember watching, it was the Paul Lynde Halloween special. And here again, I'm calling my age out way. I don't even remember the comedian. It was just one of those talk shows it was every Friday, and my parents were very much into it, and it had all sorts of skits and bands and stuff like that. And long story short, Kiss came out. Nice. And I was blown away, and that's what did it for me. I remember running to my parents' room. There were 2 TVs in the house, so I was just bugging them. Next day, they took me to swear it was like Sears or JCPenney's. They actually sold records back then.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. She bought me 2 records. 2 weeks later, the whole hype about them being into Satan and all that shit, she broke them. And then a couple of months later after that, she bought them back for Christmas out of guilt. And yeah, so I've been fidgeting with music ever since.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. Cool. Did you start taking drum lessons at that point, or did that come later? Did you play in the school band, or?
I joined marching band and got kicked out because all we did was just bang on the drums, and our band director really just didn't like drummers in general because we had them first period. But I started hooking up with some local friends of mine. And actually a little bit before that, my cousin used to have this band that they would play in the garage. And I'll never forget, man, this dude that actually taught me how to play, he only taught me four beats, really, because I was always getting caught behind his kit. I would get out of school way early and just be sitting there, dude. And it was like as big as an Iron Maiden kit, dude.
Oh, wow.
Dude, Tony Alonso, man. I mean, I'll never forget this dude for the rest of my life. And he had the look, he had the major kit. It was just, I wanted to be that dude, man. And they played the really cool songs too, you know. It was first time hearing Maiden and
Cool.
Judas Priest, you know, not the songs that you just normally would hear on the radio if you got to hear that. Just really intense rocking stuff, man. You know what I mean? And my cousin was actually kind of mean to me because I was just this little runt and just always bugging him. And finally one day, Tony catches me big time. He didn't even go to school. I had the day off. I was just there. I had the whole day off thinking I was just going to just sit there and touch everything that I was supposed to not touch on his drum sets. And here he comes, man, right through the door. And, you know, instead of him getting mad, which I knew he wasn't going to get mad, he's just this quiet guy. And he just sat there and goes, you know what, dude, you've been here bugging your cousin and everything for almost a year now. You know, you might as well just see what's up. So he taught me these 4 rhythms, and dude, I have never stopped since.
Nice.
I went and ended up doing a talent show within the next 2 years.
Cool.
You know, doing Dio, Rainbow in the Dark, and Dawkins, I think, Into the Fire.
Nice.
That was my 8th or 9th grade talent show. And man, the rest was history, dude. Soon thereafter was joining Devastation, being that young. I was really young. They weren't really even signed yet. They were just about to be.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
like
say.
16, 17, something like that.
Yeah, I thought you were like just a kid at the time. Yeah,
Mhm.
I just remember reading about that. But yeah, you were pretty young at the. And how did you hook up with those guys? How did that come about?
Man, you know, what I can remember was hearing, you know, because the funny thing about with Devastation back in the day was that if you were in that band and you were in a local band trying to get shows, man, you were never going to get those good shows, dude. Devastation had that jump. You know, I realize now Rodney was already texting and socializing, social media it out way before in the version of pen paling. He was pen paling way ahead, dude. You know, hitting up Sepultura and all these bands that,
Oh, wow.
you know, nobody even heard of. That's just what he was doing way ahead of time. I realize that now, you know. But being that young, I just kind of like heard it through a friend of a friend and somehow got a hold of Rodney and told him that I just wanted to learn, you know, just to try out. So long story short, we met up at our local mall and he told me to learn a couple of songs. And at the time, my dad had just built a house out in this like expensive type area and actually built me a soundproof room. So I was so excited, man. I just learned it overnight, dude. I didn't just learn the songs he told me to. I learned that whole record.
Oh, wow.
So when I went and, you know, tried out, it wasn't which song. You know, I asked them which song, any song. I made them actually have to think about it. But here again, my age thing was kind of a big deal. I think I've always felt, you know what I mean? These dudes were a little bit more, a lot older than me.
Right.
But they were already going places, you know what I mean? So I hung in there as much as I could and, you know, help create the original versions of what ended up being on Signs of Life.
Nice.
And, you know, I don't know if I've gotten too far ahead of the game right there, but it's I'm merely just going off kind of what I remember.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's to that point, you know, right when they got signed is when I ended up dipping out for a little bit and just hanging in the local scene, which was, you know, the local scene was crazy, man. You know, South Texas is always going to be fun to me. That's my home where I will always represent. Good, the bad, the ugly, dude. You know what I mean? And I'm always going to represent always South Texas to the fucking end, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was.
If it wasn't for them crazy bastards, I would not be here still representing out on the road as much as I can and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, I was curious about that because I remember that. Yeah, you had played on. God, I can't even think of there was a demo I think, and you played on that. And then, yeah, it was like 2 years later was when Idolatry came out, and there was another drummer in between there. And I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, that drummer, Louis.
Yeah, Louis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the first album, right?
Yeah, correct. And he wrote a couple of tunes with them as well. You know what I mean? The majority of the ones that I did the demos with ended up on that record. And back then, they were only, like we were told, I guess, to only eight songs on each record. You know what I mean? So I think he did maybe 2 or 3. I don't know. Actually, he did the one song that I loved. Tomorrow We Die on that record is the one that I didn't do. You know what I mean? And to this day, it's still awesome. It's still probably one of the ones that I would want to just redo live because it's fucking sick as fuck. You know what I mean? I love it.
Do you have this is kind of a weird question maybe, but do you I'm sure at some point, and probably maybe not too long ago, I would imagine, where it kind of hits you, the kind of the legacy of Idolatry, the legacy of that album. I mean, that was the thing that I always was a little frustrated with, was the fact that Devastation never got really, really big. And that album, I think, is a keystone, especially in kind of that second wave of thrash metal, that late 80s, early 90s thrash metal scene, where, I mean, you look at, and no offense to any of the musicians at all, but you look at Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth at that time, and they were all like, oh, we're gonna play rock albums, and you guys are like, fuck that, we're going heavy as shit and fast as shit. We're going back to the speeds. I mean, you listen to that opening track, Deliver the Suffering. That drumming is mind-blowing. That is insane. It is so cool. And I think defines and kind of redefined thrash metal, especially for the early 90s. Because, at that time, it was a weird time. But I mean, when that opening, Idolatry, the opening, Deliver the Suffering, that drumming is sick.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. To me, I always thought that's why I didn't last too long the first time I was in Devastation, because a couple of dudes, were way ahead, already pen paling bands that were already coming out, like, getting advanced cassette acid tapes, or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And one of them being probably was the Slayer one, if I remember correctly. Rodney did have the early recording of that. And so by then, his mind, I think, was already way faster than what Violent Termination was doing.
Yeah.
And then I learned just that record, dude. And I don't think at the time, whether I just didn't learn fast enough to just speed it up, which, I mean, I did, but I wasn't here. I really wasn't exposed to what they were already being exposed to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my accent irony is, like, at one point Louis was kind of like teching for me, but he was also into pen paling on his own. So these dudes, he was a little bit older than me, not much, but he was already kind of following with Rodney and already reaching out and this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? Here, I just came just from a different generation that just kind of like popped in there.
All right.
You know what I mean? And to me, it was just, I finished high school on the road, dude, with them. You know what I mean? My dad petitioned the school board. Yeah, it was kind of a trip how I got to do this, but it wasn't that easy to just decide to just jump on with these fools that were really already ahead of the game as far as where I was in my age.
Right.
It was the first time leaving town. And then eventually the dinner that I had with them, convincing them to let me go play in Detroit. It went from, like, you know what I mean? It was like, dude, and it was always the same answer at first. No, hell no. No, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'd be all bummed, and I'm thinking that they're gonna kick me out of the band again, because it just seemed like they would just kick me out for whatever reasons. And before I knew it, my dad would just start asking questions. Well, You know, it was literally like that movie Almost Famous. You're gonna call me every, you know, blah, 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 and you're gonna do this and blah, blah, blah. And I did for the most part, you know what I mean?
Right.
That young, missing Thanksgiving for the first time with the family, but that was kind of a trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean
And,
that's the thing that, yeah, it's crazy to think that. I mean, yeah, you were just a kid. I mean, you were, yeah, you said you were a high school student, and you're in.
I was still riding skateboards and my bike, and you know, running after the young girls or whatever. But man, I would always go home to my drums because they were in my room. I could play all night long.
Right.
I'd wake up and I would be on my drums.
Nice.
So that's literally what I did. And you know, convincing my dad, you know, at the time to take these chances, that was no walk in the park, man. Especially when they were already separated, working on their own divorce. You know, it seemed like whatever she hated, he was down for, and vice versa. So, you know, a lot of my enthusiasm and drive was to just not be around that mess. And it just made me play faster, harder. And, you know, when it came down to what we recorded and stuff, I love the fact that it's relevant these days. It's funny you mention all that because, you know, I'm not going to say I imitated. I just played with what I thought I loved at the time, which is more Dark Angel, Sepultura,
Nice.
Death, you know what I mean? All them dudes. And then Old School Maiden, you know what I mean? I pretty much can still hear all my things that I love in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of it's off and on, but you know, it was brutal, dude. And I try, you know, I play that these days, and it's right up there with what everybody's doing, dude, as far as tech.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's kind of funny how we were part of something that it's very relevant today.
Yeah.
Very relevant.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's a little frustrating is, I mean, I think Idolatry, that album is getting its dues now, but you know, for a long time it was kind of, you know, it was kind of just those of us that were, you know, kind of the underground thrash metal, like we knew how influential that album was, you know, but you know, I've always been frustrated that it's not, you know, as well known maybe as especially at that time, you know, like I said before, and again, not to diss anybody, but you know, the big four were changing into like rock bands. They weren't even playing thrash metal anymore, and you guys were destroying it.
Oh, dude, you know what's funny? It's funny you mentioned the big four, okay? Because I was living in the Bay Area for a long time, and I got to tech for all the Bay Area gods, dude. Went through all of them, and I used to love just going to the parties, dude, because you know you get so many of this. I mean, yeah, dude, the Bay Area had so many all flooded at once.
Yeah.
But going to a gathering or a get together where they're all there, dude, I love being able to be that one dude that stirs up the pot and say, "Oh yeah, motherfuckers, but don't forget this." And it was very relevant because Devastation played with Exodus and Celtic Frost and the Pleasures of the Flesh, and they fucking remember that show, dude.
Nice.
And it was fucking chaos, man. That was a rough one. They had to swallow. You know what I mean? And it didn't happen too often. You know what I mean? Because I'm very humble, but I can only remember what I remember. But man, you know, at some of these, you know, barbecues and shit, when you just that does it. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, all right, already. Big four, big whoop. You know what I mean? Check this out. Don't forget 1990. You know what I mean? That's the ballroom. And then we're like, oh, yeah. Remember them crazy ass, you know, ass Texicans down there going crazy, man. You can turn the streets out of that shit. You know, those were great times. Nice. And I'm not taking away from nothing, dude. They played hard, which made us play harder. You know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, it was. I love doing that once in a while in the Bay.
Nice.
You know, love me, hate me. They know me as the devil there too, man. But I got to work for all my drum gods, dude. You know, from the garage when I was learning to actually on stage, and it's still ongoing, even with the younger ones too. So.
Yeah, so if people don't know, yeah, you've been a drum tech for a long time. Like, you know, not only you're an amazing drummer, but you're a drum tech, and you've teched for a lot of different bands over the years.
Yeah, totally.
And still do that.
yeah, and I get to touch drums. You know what I mean? I'm overall, that's what just keeps me going.
Nice.
You know what I mean? I'm still lucky to be able to play, and through the ups and downs, I met an amazing wife that's just an amazing musician herself. And luckily through this pandemic, man, she kept me sane. And she plays bass, dude, and she's already halfway through the Idolatry record on bass.
Nice. Very cool.
So, it's been a whirlwind, dude. And yeah, I love the fact that our album still is relevant. It's one of Hoagland's top 5, dude, which is such a trip to hear that man say that. You know what I mean?
Very cool. I was going to ask you.
I was kind of imitating him.
Yeah, I was going to ask
certain things.
I was going to ask you who your. I mean, and I assumed that Gene Hoglan was one of your inspirational. One of the people that kind of inspired you as a drummer. But yeah. Who are the drummers that inspire you? Like, who do you listen to?
Well, of course it was both drummers from Maiden. I listened a lot more of that, because I always ended up finding myself going back to just what I love playing, which was anything that had a big ass kit. So obviously, Rush, trying to fake my way through playing Rush back then.
Nice.
Or anything that had a lot of double bass, because I just loved double bass. I wasn't the fastest, but man, I was determined to be up there. You know what I mean? And I'm still going at it these days. That's still my mission, to being not ludicrous speed, because I think that's already reached.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I work with some of these dudes and some of these kids, man, and I'm just like, I can't do that. I'm just gonna accept and only do what I can do. So, back to Maiden, some Priest, a lot of Dio, which ironically, because of Death Angel, I got to actually drum tech for Dio's original drummer. And dude, yeah, Vinny, beat you. And dude, I literally got to sit inches away from him. I got to tune his drums. I got to ask him all the nerdy questions.
Nice.
And I remember my dad buying me a video cassette of that dude like 30, 40 years ago, man. And watching that videotape over and over. And I actually got to share that story with him, which I'm sure he had many. But to me, I was fanboying out. That was one of the few that I really, that and Iron Maiden. I was checking for Testament, and they opened up literally right before they went on. And dude, I'm the whole iceberg stage, came apart.
Oh yeah.
And I'm on the drum riser, still putting, the kit together, all nervous, making sure everything is, perfect for Gene, because he's a giant. So I can't even sit on his throne. I have to stand up to reach and get everything, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, I'm being pulled out in front of everything. And I turn right behind me, and right below me is the Iron Maiden kit.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh, dude, this is so amazing. I know some friends of mine have pictures. They just don't want to give them to me right now. I'll eventually get it, but that was probably one of my best. So Maiden, and as far as the speed metal, of course, Lombardo, Igor, Sepultura was a big influence for me.
Nice.
Between him and Gene Hoglan with Dark Angel, that was summing it up. That's what I was kind of like skateboarding, before I ate shit. Quit. That was my thing.
Nice.
And one of the few arguments I think that I kind of helped win with the Devastation thing, because from my recollection and Henry's recollection, we had 2 producers or engineers, and it was either Scott Burns or Terry Day. And it's so funny, Terry Day with Pantera. It's funny how that album would have sounded. I'm not saying it wouldn't have sounded great. I'm just saying it definitely would have sounded different.
Yeah.
But I was all Sepultura, everything Florida, man. You know what I mean? I love the drum sound, the trigger sound. I wanted that sound. So I became that whiny little punk ass young dude until I forced that one. So, and to this day, man, I don't regret it, dude. Being part of that history over there is sick.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that whole Morris sound, that Florida sound. Oof, man, there's some killer stuff coming out. And that's the thing I think too with your drumming, especially on Idolatry, is yeah, it's not just fast. You're doing a lot of cool. I mean, again, like I go back to, Deliver the Suffering. There's a lot of different time signatures going on there. There's a lot happening rhythmically on that song. I mean, and I don't mean to harp on that song, the whole album kills, but that song I think it was one of those things where, you kind of you just remember the first time you heard an album and the first, like that opening track. And I'm an album guy. I listen to albums, but yeah, just that opening, when I first heard that and the drumming, like that start off, that rhythm section, it was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then when it changes, it's like, oh shit, what's he doing? He just changed the whole thing. Like, yeah. And it's like, there's multiple changes in that song, which I always thought was really badass. And it's obvious that you listen to a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, believe it or not, dude, what's funny about that is that Scott Burns, that half of what my drive on that song especially was, I was so damn nervous because he was the guy that recorded literally my favorite records, dude. The dude that recorded Sepultura, man. You know what I mean? And I was just like, holy crap, this dude's, and now he's looking at me through this window, and it's so intimidating. And yet he's the only one that was trying to like calm me down, say, man, you're doing just fine, blah, blah, blah. And I'll never forget, I also had to learn the lesson of less is more. Believe it or not, there were those songs probably had a lot more drumming. Oh, and evidently it didn't sound too great because I remember Scott taking me on a drive and giving me that talk. Like, hey man, I'm not trying to call you out in front of your band. He goes, but you trying to do a drum solo in each song or what? You know what I mean? And as soon as he said that, I immediately knew what he was talking about.
Right.
And so now I didn't really know what to do, man. I'm like, what? That's the way we've been playing them for like the last year, this, that, and the other. So I just went on a whim, dude, and I just kept on hearing what he said and that I recorded that whole record in one whole day and one whole night because I was just pumped, dude. And he didn't want me to stop. He wanted to match that energy as much as we could. I think we finished 6 of them, and then he finally let us go. You know what I mean? Because then it became a question of our ears being burnt out for the day.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
That's cool.
And no triggers back then, man. What you hear is, I hiccuped once in a while, but there were no things fixing it right from the get-go. You know what I mean? That shit got added later. So it's very much everything live, running in place. Like Hoagland, dude, wearing ankle weights and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, I still once in a while wear that, when I need to, because I know I don't work out or stretch the way I need to. So it just kind of helps.
Yeah.
Keep up the pace once in a while.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. That's cool. So tell me about you've got a project and your wife is involved with Idolatry, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and you've been doing that for a while now, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, and what's funny is all we're doing is just paying homage to Devastation. Getting to play those songs again, and here again, this is why I am so mind blown and very much proud. This is why I keep pushing this record, because I seen what it did. We went and played a few shows, opening up for a few, decent bands, dude, and we hung with them. And not just what the bands thought, but the reactions of the young kids, that some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. Some of them a total younger generation, dude. Just some of them that were just over here from Mexico, you know what I mean? When we did our first show in LA. And dude, they still love those songs. It took them maybe a song or two to figure out, holy shit, are these dudes really playing what I think they're playing?
Right.
Once they got to it, it was on. And I was very mind blown how much the younger generation appreciated it. And now with modern technology, I can just not redo it, because there's nothing that's going to change that feeling.
Yeah.
But just make it more ballsy, more just mess around with technology these days. And because I'm still close with Henry and some of the other dudes, we still got ideas, and I've got other projects that people don't even really know about yet that I've done in the past that's led me here.
Right.
A lot of the younger generation dudes, I won't really name drop them yet, because I'll do other interviews with you. You know what I mean? I don't want to drop everything, but it's definitely been fun to drop Devastation in the mix whenever I see fit, to see if we can just hang.
Yeah.
And guess what, dude? We do.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
So
it sounds like
my second part of that dilemma is being able to actually play it live. These days, that's not an easy task.
Right.
But I found a couple of young shredders now. Some, it's always been different members, and my wife shreds, and why not, dude? Me and her get to play this whole time. We've created such a solid backbone that whoever's going to come in are just going to absolutely be blown away. You know what I mean? Because I've never really got to work with a bass player that much. So, and Devastation really didn't have that much in there as far as bass.
Right.
Just the bass line that Ed was doing, which is very standard. I'm not taking anything away, but now that I've come from a world where, man, all the bands like the Faceless that I've gone on tour with, I know what is capable and what could possibly sound good with some of that. So that's what Idolatry has been, just that experimentation. We do have a couple of brand new songs, and I eventually just gonna make it just my own thing. Cool. You know what I mean? Cool, very cool name. Yeah, I could do a lot with it. So, and plus we get to just, like I said, represent, and I love playing those songs, dude. Especially now that I realized it's made its niche, and I didn't even. Sometimes I wonder if even the guys actually realize how far it really went.
Yeah.
I don't even really think they realize, dude. Like, I know Rodney's played overseas and stuff like that, and probably seen stuff I haven't, but I've also seen things that they haven't.
Right.
And that's just here in the States, dude. And it's like, damn, we should have done more. We should have done this. You know what I mean? Like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but it's still fun. Yeah. I love always finding the album in record stores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Vintage CD places. I'll find it, once in a while, and it's starting to pop up a little bit more.
Well, it got re-released on vinyl. God, I get several years back, but with kind of a new cover and. The newer one. This one right here actually is Repulsive Echo, and that was the first one that I actually had a part with them. Nice. In designing the new cover on it, and pretty cool. My wife got it framed, but it actually had the inside art comes out. Oh, and cool. It comes out in like 3 different pieces, and I, in the back I found a couple of more pictures that I'd found. That I hadn't seen on the internet, not too many, but it's all right there. And actually we got to upgrade some of the mastering and some of the actual sounds in there. I based it upon what I did with the more modern Idolatry band, because I had a bunch of young dudes in there, dude, adding their input, which was sick, dude. Trust me, it was fun. And playing the Corpus hometown show, which actually, come to find out, had all the OG Devastation dudes there. Oh, cool. A sold out show. You know what I mean? It was good. It was a good feeling that night. Yeah, that's cool.
I've got some footage of it online out there somewhere, but
I pulled up some stuff on YouTube and over the past year, and I found some cool stuff of you guys, of Idolatry playing with some younger shredders, and it's pretty
Yeah.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, to watch them, to hear what they would actually do with that. And then, I was like, whoa, dude, you know what I mean? We just somehow notched it up a level. I'm like, whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very
Without
cool.
taking anything away. So, I'm not gonna oversaturate it, you know what I mean? But I love the fact that I'm finally like doing an interview talking about one of my favorite parts of my life. You know what I mean? And to this day, it will always remain. And like I said, some of my drum gods love this record. So it's kind of a weird thing to
That's
hear
awesome.
for me, but it's at the same time, dude, what an honor.
Yeah, that's good.
My book is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm only halfway done, dude. I'm only halfway done. So,
Good. You mentioned that you have some new material you've been working on for Idolatry. So will we see a release?
I would like to put out an EP.
Awesome.
We did a big move. That kind of like set us back a little bit in this pandemic. So getting our recording studio set up a little bit is behind. But all my homeboys are here in LA. And so I'll get caught up with my studio soon enough. But I do have a young shredder that should blow everybody away.
Nice.
This kid is sick. I gotta ask him his permission. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to jump the gun, but he's a big Devastation fan. He kind of reached out, and dude, everything that I watched him do, he's gonna be able to do that and then some. And that's my whole idea, is to get that vibe. Get him to play that, and then just see what he keeps going with after that. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I feel like I have a lot of unfinished business on that vein. You know what I mean? I've actually had a lot of conversations with Hoagland and all them about it. And, same way with them. It's just a feeling that you're able to, like, I don't really know how to write down music, so I don't know how to write down that feeling. I just know I got a lot in me left.
Good. That's good to hear. I'm excited. I'm super excited to hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more stuff. So I don't want to keep you all day, but I was going to ask you. I don't know if you're a beer drinker, but so my blog is Brews and Tunes. I pair beer with heavy metal albums. So let's say Dave Lozano's chilling out on a Friday night. What album do you spin? And if you do drink beer or any beverage,
any album, what I would be drinking beer to?
Yeah. What's your pairing?
You know what? Lately, I think perfect pairing, this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but I love it anyway, is the Ozzy live album with Brad Gillis, Speak of the Devil, with a couple of Stellas. And that's just some hardcore fucking shredding on guitar.
Yep.
All around. And yeah, we all know why he's there, this, that, and the other, but what a great record, dude. And I love the drumming on that. That's what it really boils down to. So
yeah. And then that's
it right there, Speaking of the Devil, man.
Was that Tommy Aldridge on that album?
Yeah, Tommy Aldridge, Rudy Sarzo on bass, and then Brad Gillis shredding on guitar.
Man, that's
right.
Fucking amazing. Yeah, that lineup. Yeah, Brad Gillis, I don't think gets enough credit as a metal guitar player. That dude destroyed.
He definitely talk about a album that needs to be pushed more. You know what I mean? And a lot of people give me shit because, as far as my exposure to Sabbath, that's what it was to me. Because my experience, I was so young. I come from the Diary of a Madman era.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I've heard of Black Sabbath, this, that, and the other, but like going to the Bay Area, man, if it ain't Black Sabbath, motherfucker, ain't nothing. You know what I mean? Like, whoa. You gotta understand, my experience with that is this. And so to hear people talk a lot of shit, and I'm not talking shit about the other ones, you know what I mean? They just, I'm not saying what they want to hear, is basically, I love it this way. It's way more harder, heavier, way more distortion, and it's just raw. I just love it. So That's what I would be rocking on a Friday.
Fuck yeah, I love it, man. That's awesome. So Dave, this was a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. And I definitely will be looking forward to hearing some idolatry new music in the not too distant future, hopefully, which would be badass. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys on the road in the not too distant future too.
Yeah, dude, I'll keep in touch. And like tours are starting to come back. Already I'm booking stuff a little bit here and there.
Cool.
So sure I'll be letting you know and catch up with you, and we'll have a beer in person.
That would be awesome. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy, bro.
Chill.
Later.